He was interested. Deeply, visibly, can't stop texting you interested. And then, without warning, he wasn't. No fight, no red flag you can point to, just a slow fade. The good morning texts started slipping. He stopped making plans. You started overanalyzing every message, replaying every conversation, wondering what you did wrong. Here's what no one tells you. You probably didn't do anything wrong. But there is something happening, something psychological, something real that most women never get explained to them. High-value men don't lose interest randomly. There's a pattern, and once you understand it, you can't unsee it. The men who are most worth keeping, the confident, intentional, emotionally mature ones, they're actually drawn to something very specific. And it's not what dating culture has been telling you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what triggers that loss of interest, what sustains it, and the one quality that makes a high-value man genuinely invested for the long term. Welcome back to Lena, where we talk about the things most people think but never say out loud. If you're new here, subscribe and come back every week. Let's get into it. This topic hits differently right now, because we're living in an era where connection is easier to find and harder to keep than ever before. Dating apps put hundreds of options in front of a man before he's even finished his morning coffee. The paradox of choice is real, and it affects how people attach, or don't. Most women I speak to have a version of this story. They meet someone with real potential. The chemistry is there, the conversations go deep, and just as she starts to feel secure, he pulls back. She doubles down. He retreats further. Here's the psychology behind that spiral. When someone starts to feel uncertain about how you feel, their brain releases more dopamine, the anticipation chemical. Pursuit feels exciting. But the moment that uncertainty disappears and they feel fully sure of you, dopamine drops, the excitement fades. This isn't personal, it's neurochemistry. But here's what's fascinating. High-value men respond to this very differently than insecure men. And understanding the difference is everything. So let's break this down, starting with number 1. Picture this. The first few weeks are electric. He initiates constantly. You both feel that pull. Then, around week 4 or 5, he goes a little quiet. She panics. She texts more, shows up more, makes herself more available. And almost overnight, he's gone cold. Here's what was actually happening. Psychologists call this the reality testing phase. Early romantic attraction is powered by idealization. His brain has essentially projected a fantasy onto you. As that fantasy gets tested against real life, the nervous system recalibrates. This is normal. This is healthy. This is not rejection. What she did by flooding the space with reassurance? She short-circuited his process. She answered questions he hadn't finished asking. The most powerful thing you can do in those quiet moments is stay grounded. Let him complete the loop. Your stillness is not passivity, it's confidence, and confidence is magnetic. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the next point reveals what high-value men are actually noticing during this phase, and most women have no idea. She's putting her best self forward, thoughtful, attentive, always available. What she doesn't realize is that he's watching something else entirely. He's watching how she speaks about herself. Whether she cancels plans to see him, whether she has a life she loves, or whether he's becoming the center of it, this isn't him playing games. Attachment research from psychologist John Bowlby shows that emotionally secure people are instinctively drawn to other secure people. When a woman consistently deprioritizes herself, her goals, her friendships, her own happiness, it registers subconsciously as low self-worth. And low self-worth creates anxiety in a partner, even if he can't name it. The insight here is counterintuitive. The more full your life is, the more attracted a high-value man becomes. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because a woman who loves her own life is genuinely compelling. She doesn't need him to complete her. She wants him to add to something already good. That's the energy that hooks. And number 3 is where most women make the biggest mistake, often with the best intentions. She wants him to know she's open, warm, safe to be with. So she shares early and often. Her past relationships, her anxieties, her deepest fears. She thinks she's being authentic. He starts to feel overwhelmed and pulls back. She interprets that as emotional unavailability on his part. But that's not always what's happening. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called optimal disclosure. Relationships deepen when vulnerability is mutual and paced when both people are slowly peeling back layers together, not when one person empties the whole drawer in week 2. Oversharing, especially about emotional wounds, can trigger a man's withdrawal reflex, not because he doesn't care, but because the emotional weight lands before the trust is built. True emotional availability looks like this: being present, being curious about him, sharing authentically when it's appropriate, and having the self-awareness to know the difference between intimacy and anxiety venting. One draws him in. The other, even from a place of pure intention, can push him away. What I'm about to share next changed everything for the women who really sat with it. She's told him she really likes him. She makes it easy. She's flexible, accommodating, always available. She thinks consistency shows she's serious. He interprets it as certainty, and certainty, neurologically, kills the chase response. Studies in behavioral economics, specifically Robert Cialdini's work on scarcity and commitment, show that humans value things more when they've invested effort to obtain them. This isn't manipulation. This is how the human brain assigns value. When something comes too easily, the brain categorizes it as low effort and therefore low priority. This doesn't mean playing games or withholding warmth. It means being genuinely selective. Saying yes because you want to, not because you're afraid of what happens if you don't. Having your own standards and letting him rise to meet them. Letting him plan a date instead of always adapting to his schedule. Giving him the experience of winning you, not just having you. That distinction is everything. But here's where it gets really interesting, because point 5 is about something most dating advice gets completely backwards. She's heard "be mysterious" and interpreted it as being vague, withholding, or playing hard to get. She starts giving one-word answers. He finds her cold. She swings the other way and overshares everything. He feels like he already knows all there is to know. And that feeling, the feeling that there's nothing left to discover, quietly kills attraction. Psychologist Arthur Aaron's research on romantic attraction found that what sustains long-term desire isn't novelty for its own sake. It's the sense that the other person is still expanding, that they have inner worlds you haven't fully mapped. Cognitive curiosity is one of the most powerful drivers of continued attraction. Real depth comes from actually having a rich inner life. From reading, thinking, having opinions, pursuing growth, experiencing things, from being genuinely interested in the world. A woman who is constantly learning, evolving, and surprising herself will naturally surprise him too. You don't manufacture mystery. You build it from the inside out. And the final point ties all of this together because the one thing that keeps a high-value man truly hooked isn't any technique at all. Here's what every point in this video has been building toward. Every woman who has ever had a man deeply, lastingly invested in her, not just attracted, but genuinely committed, will tell you the same thing, even if she can't always articulate it. She was herself. Fully, unapologetically herself. And that self was someone worth knowing. Neuroscience calls this secure attachment behavior. And here's what it looks like in practice. She's warm without being desperate. She's available without being boundaryless. She's vulnerable without being needy. She communicates clearly instead of hinting. She walks away from what doesn't honor her instead of shrinking to keep the peace. According to Dr. Sue Johnson's attachment research, the highest functioning romantic relationships are built on exactly this: two people who feel secure enough in themselves to show up honestly. A high-value man, one who is emotionally intelligent, self-aware, and intentional, is not hooked by strategy. He's hooked by authenticity so grounded that it becomes a kind of gravity. He keeps coming back because being around her makes him feel more like himself. That's the secret. Not a trick, not a technique, a way of being. If you've ever felt like you were doing everything right, being kind, showing up, making yourself available, and still watch someone drift away, I want you to hear this. You were not too much. You were not the problem. You were just operating from a place of fear instead of fullness. And that's not a character flaw. That's what happens when you care deeply, and no one has ever shown you that caring for yourself is the foundation, not a reward you earn after he's fully committed. Every point in this video connects back to the same core truth. The women who keep high-value men aren't the ones who are most agreeable, most available, or most perfectly calibrated. They're the ones who have done the quiet, unglamorous work of building a life they love and then invited someone into it. You are not auditioning. You are not competing. You are not trying to be someone's exception. You are the standard. And when you truly live that, not as a line you say, but as a truth you embody, the right man doesn't just stay, he builds with you. That shift from seeking his approval to trusting your own worth is the most attractive thing you will ever do. Not for him, for you. I want to ask you something personal, and I'd love it if you answered in the comments. Which of these points landed hardest for you? Was it the part about emotional over-disclosure, or the idea that he needs to feel like he's earning you? Tell me, because the more specific you are, the more useful these conversations become for everyone watching. If this resonated with you, subscribe to Lena. I post every week, and every video is designed to give you real insight. Not fluff, not fear tactics, just honest, grounded truth about how people connect. And if you want to go even deeper, watch this next. It covers why emotionally unavailable men are drawn to certain women and how to change that pattern at the root. It connects directly to what we just talked about. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.